like, I'm going to try this out. I'm also uploading the video to the Facebook group, and then I can put it on YouTube too, so we can just look at it. But I figured, you know what? Why not? Let's just try this out. So what I'm going to do is go to share, and I'm just going to share this video, and then we will just watch that. So I think that that should work. So, yep, we will just try it out. And let me just double check that we are, let's see, you live? I think we're live. So, well, the joy of all of this stuff sometimes, right? Hey, but this is a good example of, you know, what can happen. So, okay, cool. Looks like we're good. So I'm going to go ahead and just get this playing. So thanks again for your patience, and there you go.
All right, so I am super grateful that we are able to talk with Buffy today. So Buffy Stinchfield, and she has a lot of amazing experience. You've probably already seen her around, Instagram, and maybe you're already even on her email list. And so I'm really excited to be able to ask her some questions so that we can really get a lot of value out of it.
Nerds Unite. I started graduate school in 2003, and so the summer before that all started, I wanted to read something fun. Since I knew I was going to be in for it for about 3.5 years. So I picked up the first Harry Potter book. I heard it was cool. I thought it was like candy. I read as many as I could that had been released up till school started. And then I had a blast with the releases and, the movies that came out. And I secretly schemed and plotted to get my kids to be into it. And yeah, so it's been fun. And I've never been a person that was a fangirl of any big thing. And at some point in the last couple of years, at an older age, I just went, you know what? I like Harry Potter. I'm going to do a Harry Potter Christmas tree. So I do fun things like that. And it's just a family thing now.
That's so cool. I love that. Yeah, I love that. And I'd love in the chat too, everyone just let us know if you're also a Harry Potter fan or what's your favorite book. I'd love to hear that too. So it's a lot of fun. And that's a really cool story too about kind of how it came about for you. I think the first time I saw it was, I was in grade school, and I went to the library, and there's this Harry Potter book. It's kind of all the rage, and I was like, okay, well, I'll check it out. And so that was one of the few books that I really look forward to reading. Most of the time in school, it's kind of yeah, I'll read a book, but I'm more of a math and science guy. So, anyways, but yeah, that's super fun. So, well, thanks for sharing that. So,
gateway drug.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, let's maybe you could just give a quick introduction, kind of your backstory, and then we'll dive into today's topic around emails.
Yeah, in terms of business, this is who we're focusing on as people doing their PT businesses. I did PT for, probably 10 years before I went out on my own. I had a 4-month-old surprise third child, and things changed with my employer. I'd been a public PT, and I decided I was not going to come back from maternity leave with no plans. And I started renting space out of an office 1 day a week. And I went from there, but I had to just, nosedive into all things marketing, because that is completely not a part of our education at all. We're not aware of any of the things marketing. So I now, fast forward to now, I just opened my larger clinic. I have another PT, a front desk person. It's all been a lot of growth, even amid 2020. So it's been scary, but fun and very, very fulfilling.
Cool. That's really awesome. Yeah. And I'm sure we could have another interview about all of that stuff too. Like it's awesome, all the things you've been doing and awesome that you've been able to grow even during 2020, which is super cool. So, all right, well, cool. Let's dive into, today's topic. So first of all, let me just ask, like, why did you feel like, oh yeah, like emails, like the power of consistent emails would be something that's important. So maybe you could talk about why you thought about that and like, when you first realized that this was an important piece.
Well, I thought, what am I good at? And I feel like there's so many people doing such an amazing job in other things. And now there's, really cool videos people are making on Instagram, and it's not me. But I will say, in all of the mentoring and classes and podcasts I listened to, Amy Porterfield came up, and I started listening to her, and she started talking about emails. Why the heck are you even going to market? As I'm learning how to market, if you don't capture emails, and then that's actually a commodity, and it's a way to grow your community and your loyalty base. And so at some point a couple of years ago, I made the commitment to myself that as of December, like 2 years ago, I am going to be consistent as heck with emails. And I came up with a system, and I've not looked back. I've never missed an email, and I call it the Thursday 3. And yeah.
That's awesome. Well, that's really awesome. Yeah. So, so you had Amy Porterfield kind of, preaching, hey, emails. And so you realize, okay, I need to, like, there's something to this. And, what were some of the initial struggles? Because it sounds like you're like, maybe you dabbled with it a little bit because you're like, okay, this is good. And so you start doing it and you're like, oh, this is hard or whatever. And so what were some of those struggles that you went through in the beginning that, a lot of our challengers will also be facing?
Yeah, well, the idea, you're thinking, well, okay, sure, I'll do an email, but then each week rolls around like that, when you're busy with life, and then you're stuck in front of the laptop going, what do I write this time? And early on, I really didn't realize that I could generate so much content, like the social media posts and the other things I was doing. I didn't understand how to automate what I was doing so that it didn't feel like a struggle bus every week. And when I made that commitment, I actually also made a plan, a way to systematize, and I've been able to keep to that. I made sure it wasn't, extensive and, too elaborate. And
yeah, cool. That's really awesome. And one of the things I just want to ask, our challengers too, just be typing in the chat is, what are some reasons why you've never tried this strategy, or like, why have you, why are you doing this if you are in that? Just because, it's important to hear those type of things, write it out so that, again, this is a challenge so that we can make some progress, not just like, oh, let's listen to Buffy and Dustin, like, let's do this. And so that's really cool. And so what's kind of the overall goal? Maybe you could just paint like the vision of like, okay, because it's like you heard from Amy Porterfield about this is, important, but like, what's kind of the overall strategy of using emails, and why is that, an important thing?
Well, maybe you capture someone's email from, a lead ad that you place, or you have their email because they're a past patient. And the thing about things like physical therapy is oftentimes we will attract people that aren't yet ready to see us. They're not at a point in their life that they can come to therapy. So, they're a not yet, not a no. And even with the past patients, they might have a new injury that arises or relapse, but as you've been communicating with them every single week, you have bolstered up the know, like, and trust factor so much that you're the name that comes to them. They go, oh, that's the person. And they look at, what you've created. They can see your body of work. They know that you're the go-to person, instead of, someone with random emails. And I would say, there's a trust that's also built from that consistency. They know you're not going away. They know you're not flaky, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So it's a way to build know, like, and trust, and then consistently show up so that people see your name and they're listening and things like that. And then I was just going to ask our challengers, like, what are some of the major benefits that you see? Like, if you're like, okay, that's interesting. That's, put that down so we can hear what you're thinking about. And as far as one of the other things I was thinking too is that, I think that when you think of like a long-term game rather than just like, oh, right now, like you mentioned, like it's not yet, it's not a no, is that it's important to think about like kind of the lifetime value of someone that you have, right? Like it's possible that, maybe you have some different services in the future and maybe they can, do that if they're a past patient or whatever, but like it's not, just a short-term thing. And so if you consistently show up, then it allows you to do that. So I think that's one, benefit for doing that. And so you mentioned a little bit before that you have like a system for doing this. So why don't you kind of break down what's your system? Because I think that would be really powerful. Even as I was preparing for this interview, I'm like, I do events all the time, but I'm like, I don't know that I have a great, system. But like, even as I started thinking through it, I was like, oh, well, I could probably do this and this and this. That would actually make it a lot easier for me to do it. And then it'd be better for my audience too. Yeah, I'd love to hear what's your system behind doing it.
Streamline, I think, is the goal. Well, first I would say I started with using an email service called MailChimp. And I really struggled with that one because it wasn't intuitive to me. When I looked at the platform, it was like, I couldn't do what I wanted with the emails. So then the person that designed my website said, hey, you should totally use MailerLite. So I jumped on that before I automated things. And I found that you can create a template, and that saved me because I had templates where it would be like, picture and then words. And then you could do the next chunk would be picture and words, and it made it visually appealing. And I basically created that template. And then the system that I created was I called my email the Thursday 3. And so every week I flip-flop with either a podcast or a blog that I've put out there. And I don't do both every week. I alternate because I just can't do all of the things. So I always am announcing a new podcast or a blog, something that's happening, an event I'm promoting. And then the third's kind of a wild card. I could promote an old blog. I can promote something I did on video, like Instagram video, or just, information. So I'm trying to basically plug and play every single week. I flip flop. And so all I will do is go back to a prior email, copy it, and just plug in the new topic, if that makes sense.
Cool.
So yeah. I already created my podcast. I copy paste, put it over. I already, had the event and the ad copy for it, plug it over. So I'm not actually generating much new content. And then what really hit me is a mentor for me said, Buffy, that people aren't going to remember what you posted about a year ago or 2 years ago, the longer you do this. So if you have a week that you're struggling or you didn't get a podcast or email or a blog post out, just go back to like a year and a half. The longer you've done it, you can bring it forward as new content. But in the end, the intro part of my email is the only truly new thing. But other than that, I'm able to just plug and play. And now I've got a front desk person, and she's helping me create it. Cool. So I will just quickly message to her, here's what the 3 are going to be, and she'll set it up for me.
Cool. Yeah, that's so awesome. I love that. Like, it's really simple strategy to have that like structure, which I think makes a lot of sense because you mentioned this too, which I know is a huge blocker for a lot of people, is like the writer's block, where you sit down, oh, what do I write? I don't even know what to do. It's like, I don't know what to say today. I'm like, okay. And so having that like sort of structure and like, plan is really powerful. And so what day do you have a day in the week that you're like, yeah, this is when I do that? And then you just get it done?
What's awesome that keeps us accountable is, if you've got someone that you have like a 1099 person that's working for you, and they're always looking for you to submit something so they can create a graphic for you or put it on your website for you. So for me, it really helped having a person that was helping me with my website, because I always had the deadline of Tuesday night. I had to get her my new blog or podcast for her to publish, or whoever's working for you if you're doing it. And then I always had to have it done every Thursday. It's called the Thursday 3. If I get it out at 8 p.m. at night, because it's been just so crazy, it gets out. It might not come out at 8 a.m. in the morning, but it's getting released on Thursday. It's called the Thursday 3.
Yeah, really, really cool. Yeah, I think that's really powerful. It's good to, have, those type of plans for sure, because I think it just allows us to stay consistent. Because sometimes I was chatting with someone the other day and they were just talking about how like they just don't feel like that they're seeing much progress. But they were just talking about though how I was like, well, what is your goal? Like, what are you really shooting for? And they're like, I don't know exactly. And I'm like, well, that's might be part of it, is you don't really have defined like success. Whereas if you have something like this, like, okay, once a week I'm going to do this, then you just make sure that gets done, and then you're good. So that's really cool.
Yeah. It's it's surprising when you have someone email you back, because oftentimes people click on delete or don't open emails. But I have had a fair number of people from far away reach out after an email and say, I felt like you were talking to me. As far away as New Zealand and other states. And it just that, every once in a while you get that little carrot of like, oh, there's a reason I'm doing this. I mean, I know I'm passionate, but yeah, people will read it. And then there's also things like, you're trying to measure success, like how many people open your email. And there's the other part of figuring out how to title your email, because it'll get people to click it more. And so I remember hearing Amy Porterfield say that 15% open rate was actually pretty good. Just for reference, my emails typically have like a 25+% open rate, just for reference. And so I will find though, when I tweak and play with title lines, I can see it, and I do it every week. I can consistently see there's ones that definitely get more opens and clicks.
Yeah, it's so true. And that's actually part of like the Massive Impact Challenge pack, is I have this fail-proof headlines like ebook that's part of it. And so it's just, that's like 80% of people, if they go to a landing page, they're just going to look at the headline. And it's like, you have to capture that. And then some people keep reading, other people just go sign up or whatever, but like, it's super powerful. So it's definitely something to think about. And just, part of that sometimes is like, just sometimes getting in the right state of like, okay, I'm going to brainstorm right now. So like come up with a bunch of different ideas, and there's lots of things online too, to help you figure out what are some different structures and things. But yeah, that's a really, really good point. That's kind of your way into the email. Is like, it's got to be something that they want to click on and read. So, so how do you think this has, changed your, well, I guess before I do that, like, let me know in the chats. I just want to hear what you've heard about as far as headlines, or like if you've ever struggled with that type of thing, because it's definitely a really powerful thing. But I'd love to just hear like, oh yeah, it's been super easy for me, or whatever, just so we can kind of, hear about that from you. So I'd love to just ask you, like, how do you feel like this has changed your business?
I would say that I always knew when I started this business, that after listening to other mentors, that I wasn't going to be looking for doctor referrals. I always knew I'd be marketing to my community. And I also learned that, the long game is the bigger strategy. There will be short-term marketing things that we do, but the long game is the most important, and you want to be consistent as heck with it. So I get patients from all over. I can't point to one referral source. People refer friends. People come in from Google. And so as we get that wide net that we've cast from people from all over, you want to be just super consistent. And so I feel like I do get people that come in from the email. And it's just strengthened my brand.
Yeah, and I think that's a really good point, because like sometimes I see people like just chasing all of the hacks. It's like, oh, well, hey, SEO, like if you do this certain thing, then like you'll get a bunch of people to your website. And then like on Facebook, what's the algorithm now? You do this and that. And then, but it's like, it's not necessarily bad to like look at some of those, but it's just, if you're always chasing that, then sometimes you're going to miss out because you're not like focusing on the big picture thing. And just like you talked about, like as your email list grows over time, like you'll have just like, that's a huge asset that a lot of people don't realize, because, you know, if for whatever reason your Facebook, you know, account gets deleted, or, you know, things just change with the kind of some of the sources you're relying on right now you have this audience that you can talk to. And so, you know, even if maybe you need to pivot, maybe you need to shift gears or whatever, but it's like, that's a really important asset to continue to use. So that's cool to hear about. And I want to ask all our challengers too, like, how do you feel like email has either changed your business, or how do you feel like it should be changing your business, or what's kind of that vision that you see for yourself? Because, you know, it's important to think about how you might be able to do that. And that's actually something too, just really quickly too, that as I was, you know, preparing to help, you know, physical therapists and things, I did some reading and found some other, you know, influencers and people that are helping. And I read about like just a very simple strategy with email too, is that, you know, if you're, you know, maybe you're marketing to, whether it's a, you know, telehealth thing or it's something locally, that you can send out a simple email. Hey, I'm looking for 10 people to help with this, you know, specific problem. And pretty, you know, depending on your list size, you might be able to get those 10 to come in pretty quickly. And so it's just again, a really powerful resource that everyone should definitely be utilizing. And so so now we've talked about kind of the overall strategy and like your system, which I think is really cool. So I appreciate you sharing that. What do you think is the best first steps for someone to get started with this?
With email?
Yeah.
Well, find a platform that doesn't make you go crazy. Would be the first one. You know, a platform that you feel like you could jump on and do and not feel, you know, frustrated and flustered because you're going to be on it every week.
Yeah.
That would be the first step. You know, maybe if, you know, a couple of friends are like, oh, we all use this, and that's what I'd heard about MailChimp. But then I got on it and felt completely stupid with using it, and it just didn't work for me. And then the second one is make a commitment, but whatever you do, make sure you could fulfill on it. With a busy week, a vacation, don't make it extravagant. Make it simple.
Yeah, you could even start once a month, right?
Yeah, like whatever goal, just commit to it, and don't look back. Yeah. Because, and that's, you know, when someone's new to marketing, like you said, you are at the beginning chasing squirrels, or there's this thing and this strategy and that hack and that thing. But when it comes to email, I mean, it's the one thing that you do that it should be so consistent.
Yeah.
And you just don't let people down. And there will be people looking for your email. They'll get used to seeing it. Other people, they'll be annoyed that you're in their inbox again, but those people will naturally take themselves out of your email list, if that makes sense. Yeah. And I'd also say, don't worry about the numbers of who's on your email list right now. You know, and the people that need to hear your message, they're going to be on it. And it's really not about massive numbers, because if it's massive numbers of people that could care less about what you have to say, then it's not really a powerful email list.
Yeah, it's so true. And I want to ask you, because I think that this is something that I've struggled with some, and I'm sure other people have too. Like I actually was in a challenge, one of my first, and had someone they had someone just say something not so nice, and they unsubscribed, and they're like, oh, okay, I don't know if I want to do this, you know. But like, what have you done to like not worry about that when someone's, you know, like, oh, just people just unsubscribe, or like they, you know, like you get those, obviously you probably don't get the comments as much of like, oh, this is annoying, but you know, like there is some mental battles there too, where it's like, I don't know, like I sent this email and then these people unsubscribed. Not that many people, you know, opened it. So like, what have you done to kind of overcome that?
You know, wise people around me have said things like, you should equally repel the people that are not your people as much as you attract the people that are your people. And if you're not being focused enough on who your people are, then you're doing a disservice to them and you, if that makes sense. Yeah. Because it should, the way you market, the way you portray yourself should be weeding people out. because
Right.
we're in PT, you can't be everything to everyone. Even within pelvic PT, there are a ton of niches within this field.
Yeah.
And so I also, at the beginning, I would look at people that unsubscribed and go, "Oh, what did I say?" But also, at this point, I think good on them for being organized enough to unsubscribe.
Mm-hmm.
I know my inbox is unmanageable right now, so
Yeah, me too.
yeah. So yeah, we literally should be repelling somebody.
Yeah.
You're not everything to everyone, nor should we try.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really good point. And it's something that like I just reminded of Simon Sinek, who says like start with why. That really the best marketers, they start with like their why and their beliefs, because then other people that like that, they'll stay with you. Other people that don't, then they'll leave. But it's so much more powerful if someone's really connected with you and they totally believe everything you believe, because then they want those emails, they want that. And so I think that's a good point, is like shifting the mindset of, I don't want to I want my numbers to stay or whatever. It's like, I just want to help the people that, I can help. And so you do those emails, you do those things, and really just be strong about what you believe. And then again, those people that don't love it, then they can leave, but that's probably not someone that would necessarily want to work with you anyway. So, it's not, no harm done. So that's really cool. Yeah. And one thing I did want to mention to our audience too, is as far as like email service, like I've done a ton of research and there's a million platforms. So definitely go, like a lot of them have free trials, so go try out some different ones. It sounds like MailerLite. I've tried ActiveCampaign and MailChimp. What was I can't remember the name.
The Constant Contact.
There's that. I don't think I tried that. There was another. Yeah, I'll have to look it up and see. But the one that I use is Kajabi, and so this is more of an all-in-one thing. So it's. But the reason for me, like one thing that I looked at is I was thinking maybe I'll do like WordPress plus an email service, or I'll do something plus an email service and things like that. But then as I looked at like the numbers, it's like some of them, they can be quite expensive once you get to a bigger list size. But then Kajabi was like, oh, it's scaled a lot better that way. So I was like, well, I can get my website and challenges and just everything in there. So anyways, obviously, do what's the best for you. But that's one of the reasons I picked Kajabi, is because I could do everything in one place, do the blog, do everything, but then also have like it just would scale better with the list size, basically. So.
Well, and simplicity. You're going crazy with a bunch of platforms.
Yeah, right, for sure.
And there are simple ones that are free for a long time. Free until you have 1,000. Yeah.
Yep, it's true. And there's even like SendFox, I think, which you can have. It might even be free forever with. Anyways, but so there's lots of options. Sounds like, but the best thing is just go and just get started, and you can always change too. So if you need to export and put in what you want, it's not a big deal. So. Well, cool. Well, this has been amazing, Buffy. Thank you so much for doing all of this and sharing this. I think it's been really valuable. I want all of our challengers to be, writing the channel. It's like, yes, thank you, Buffy. And yes, I'm going to do emails, because if you're going to have a massive impact online, then you certainly have to figure out the email game. And so it's important to do that. So the last thing I just wanted to ask you is, if you could just give everyone one piece of advice, what would you say? And it could be about emails, but also could just be, something else.
Let yourself be guided by the passion. The thing that you're the most passionate about, because it rings true to people. They can sense it when you're doing what you think you're supposed to do versus what you are the most passionate about. That will show through in how hard it is to write your emails and your content. And yeah, you'll attract the tribe that was meant to be your tribe.
Cool. Yeah, that's really good advice. So yeah, amen to that. So, well, thanks again, Buffy, for being part of this challenge. It's amazing. And so I'm excited that we're able to do this, and look forward to future talks.
Cool. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
All righty. Well, hey, thank you so much for being here still. was a little crazy today. So, but you know what? That's kind of what happens when you do things live. So, but it's fun. And one thing that I just want to do really quickly is first of all say thanks again to Buffy. It was an amazing interview, and email is super important. And so definitely something to check out. And I really quickly wanted to just go do the giveaway. So let me show Chrome here, and then I'm going to go ahead and spin this so we can do the giveaway for today. Let's see, who do we get today? Looks like Leslie. Hey, Leslie. It's exciting. So I'll add that to the email. But yeah, thanks again so much for being here. I'll send the replay out right now. And so you'll actually, there's a link, it's already set up like on the page that has just the interview set up. So if you ended up seeing this, but anyways, you didn't catch the whole thing or whatever, I'll just do that. And it's also up in the Facebook group too. So again, apologize for the craziness today, but thank you so much for being here, and excited to be able to continue this challenge. So we got